hymn we're considering tonight, the mystery of Agni, is one of the most difficult texts, probably the most difficult text that we've attempted to clarify so far. I deliberately last week gave ourselves a little space in which to reflect on the foregoing evenings and to express any feelings we thought appropriate and float any questions. You will appreciate, particularly when we meditate on the mystery of Agni, that the asking of the question assumes a particularly potent meaning. The asking of the question. I will admit to being last week a little disappointed that we tended to home in with such force on verse 5 without balancing that up against the further content of the text, and without relating it to the teachings that had gone before. It's essential that that verse, which I don't regard as being very happily phrased, but the content of that verse is related to the symbolism of the whole. What we have crystallized in this fairly short hymn, mere 15 verses, is the profoundest mysticism and a rare strand of teaching spanning east and west through the migrating Aryan tribes, returning to the west in somewhat reconstituted form, and surfacing in our own culture, particularly in the 12th century, as the legends of the Holy Grail. The text we're considering now has the deepest implication in terms of the origin of religion as we know it in the 20th century, the origin of Christianity, and in particular the origin of that Gnostic form of Christianity, which richly informed medieval Europe and was alleged to have particular significance for Britain. The whole Arthurian ethos. Now, a scholar who has developed this line of thinking more than any other is Jessie Weston, who in 1919 produced this intriguing little book, From Ritual to Romance, tracing the origins of the Grail legends through a long mythological cycle and claiming their origin in the Rig Veda. She based her work, first of all, on Fraser and claimed support from other researchers in her field. So it has a very dignified lineage academically. I propose to reinforce this by reading one short chapter from this book, which is incidentally essential reading for all interested in the Arthurian field. The freeing of the waters. To begin at the beginning was the old storytelling formula, and it was a very sound one, if the beginning could only be definitely ascertained. As our nearest possible approach to it, I would draw attention to certain curious parallels in the earliest literary monuments of our race. I would at the same time beg those scholars who may think it a far cry from the romances of the 12th century of our era to some 1,000 years BC to suspend their judgment till they have fairly examined the evidence for a tradition common to the Aryan race in general and persisting with extraordinary vitality and a marked correspondence of characteristic detail through all migrations and modifications of that race down to the present day. Turning back to the earliest existing literary evidence, the Rig Veda, we become aware that in this vast collection of over 1,000 poems, it is commonly known as the 1001 hymns, but the poems contained in it are more than that in number, are certain parallels with our Grail stories which, if taken by themselves, are perhaps interesting and suggestive rather than in any way conclusive, yet which, when they are considered in relation to the entire body of evidence, assume a curious significance and importance. We must first note that a very considerable number of the Rig Veda hymns depend for their initial inspiration on the actual bodily needs and requirements of a mainly agricultural population, that is, of a people that depend upon the fruits of the earth for their subsistence, and to whom the regular and ordered sequence of the processes of nature was a vital necessity. Their hymns and prayers, and, as we have strong reason to suppose, their dramatic ritual, were devised for the main purpose of obtaining from the gods of their worship that which was essential to ensure their well-being and the fertility of their land: warmth, sunshine, and above all sufficient water. That this last should in an eastern land under a tropical sun become a point of supreme importance is easily to be understood. There is consequently small cause for surprise when we find throughout the collection the God who bestows upon them this much desired boon to be the one to whom by far the greater proportion of the hymns are addressed. It is not necessary here to enter into a discussion as to the original conception of Indra and the place occupied by him in the early Aryan pantheon, whether he was originally regarded as a war god or a god of weather. What is important for our purpose is the fact that it is Indra to whom a disproportionate number of the hymns of the Rig Veda are addressed, that it is from him that the much desired boon of rain and abundant water is besought, and that the feet which above all others redounded to his praise and is ceaselessly glorified both by the god himself and by his grateful worshippers is precisely the feat by which the Grail heroes Gawain and Percival rejoiced the hearts of the suffering folk, that is, the restoration of the rivers to their channels, the freeing of the waters. Tradition relates that the 7 great rivers of India had been imprisoned by the evil giants Vritra or Ahi, whom Indra slew, thereby releasing the streams from their captivity. The Rig Veda hymns abound in references to this feat. It will only be necessary to cite a few from among the numerous passages I have noted. Quote, "Thou hast set loose the 7 rivers to flow. Thou causest the water to flow on every side. Indra set free the waters. Thou, Indra, hast slain Vritra by thy vigour. Thou hast set free the rivers. Thou hast slain the slumbering Ahi for the release of the waters, and hast marked out the channels of the all-delighting rivers. Indra has filled the rivers. He has inundated the dry land. Indra has released the imprisoned waters to flow upon the earth." It would be easy to fill the pages with similar quotations, but these are sufficient for our purpose. Among the Rig Veda hymns are certain poems in dialogue form, which from their curious and elliptic character have been the subject of much discussion among scholars. Professor Oldenburg, in drawing attention to their peculiarities, has expressed his opinion that these poems were the remains of a distinct type of early Indian literature, where verses forming the central and illuminating point of a formal ceremonial recital have been fast with illustrative and explanatory prose passages, the form of the verses being fixed, that of the prose being varied at the will of the reciter. The theory, which is technically known as the Akhyana theory, as it derived its starting point from the discussion of the Supanakayana text won considerable support but was contested by Monsieur Sylvain Lévy, who asserted that in these hymns we had the remains of the earliest and oldest Indian dramatic creations, the beginning of the Indian drama, and that the fragments could only be satisfactorily interpreted from the point of view that they were intended to be spoken, not by a solitary reciter, but by two or more dramatis personae. Hertel went still further, and while accepting and demonstrating the justice of this interpretation of the dialogue poems, suggested a similar origin for certain monologues found in the same collection. Professor von Schröder, in his extremely interesting volume, Mysterium und Minimus im Rigveda, has given a popular and practical form to the result of these researches by translating and publishing with an explanatory study a selection of these early culture dramas, explaining the speeches and placing them in the mouth of the respective actors to whom they were presumably assigned. Professor von Schröder holds the entire group to be linked together by one common intention, viz., the purpose of stimulating the processes of nature and of obtaining, as a result of what may be called a ritual culture drama, an abundant return to the fruits of the earth. The whole book is rich in parallels drawn from ancient and modern sources and is of extraordinary interest to the folklore student. In the light thrown by Professor von Schröder's researches, following as they do upon the illuminating studies of Manhart and Fraser, we become strikingly aware of the curious vitality and persistence of certain popular customs and beliefs. And while the two last-named writers have rendered inestimable service to the study of comparative religion by linking the practices of classical and medieval times with the folk customs of today, we recognize through von Schröder's work that the root of such belief and custom is embedded in a deeper stratum of folk tradition that we had hitherto realized, that it is in fact a heritage from the far-off past of the Aryan peoples. For the purposes of our especial line of research, Mysterium und Mimus offers much of value and interest. As noted above, the main object of these primitive dramas was that of encouraging, we may say, ensuring, the fertility of the earth. Thus, it is not surprising that more than one deals with the theme of which we are treating, the freeing of the waters. Only that whereas, in the questions given above, the worshippers praise Indra for his beneficent action, here Indra himself, in propria persona, appears and vaunts his feat. I struck down Vritra by the power of Indra. I had become so strong in fury. For all mankind I set the rivers free. And the impersonated waters speak for themselves. Indra, armed with the thunderbolt, broke the way for us. He smote down Vritra, the encloser of the rivers. There is no need to insist further on the point that the task of the Grail hero in this special respect is no mere literary invention, but a heritage from the achievements of the prehistoric heroes of the Aryan race. But the poem selected by von Schröder for discussion offer us a further and more curious parallel with the Grail romances. In section 8 of the work referred to, the author discusses the story of Rishakringa, as the Mahabharata names the hero. Here we find a young Brahmin brought up by his father, Vibhadanka, in a lonely forest hermitage, absolutely ignorant of the outside world, and even of the very existence of beings other than his father and himself. He has never seen a woman, and does not know that such a creature exists. A drought falls upon a neighbouring kingdom, and the inhabitants are reduced to great straits for lack of food. The king, seeking to know by what means the suffering of his people may be relieved, learns that so long as Rishakringa continues chaste, so long will the drought endure. An old woman who has a fair daughter of irregular life undertakes the seduction of the hero. The king has a ship fitted out with all possible luxury, and an apparent hermit's cell erected upon it. The old woman, her daughter and companions embark, and the river carries them to a point not far from the young Brahmin's hermitage. Taking advantage of the absence of his father, the girl visits Rishakringa in his forest cell, giving him to understand that she is a hermit like himself, which the boy in his innocence believes. He is so fascinated by her appearance and caresses that, on her leaving him, he, deep in thought of the lovely visitor, forgets, for the first time, his religious duties. On his father's return, he innocently relates what has happened, and the father warns him that fiends in this fair disguise strive to tempt hermits to their undoing. The next time the father is absent, the temptress, watching her opportunity, returns and persuades the boy to accompany her to her hermitage, which she assures him is far more beautiful than his own. So soon as Rishakringa is safely on board, the ship sails, the lad is carried to the capital of the rainless land, the king gives him his daughter as wife, and so soon as the marriage is consummated, the spell is broken, and rain falls in abundance. Professor von Schroeder points out that there is little doubt that in certain earlier versions of the tale, the king's daughter herself played the role of temptress. There is no doubt that a ceremonial marriage very frequently formed a part of fertility ritual and was supposed to be specially efficacious in bringing about the effect desired. The practice subsists in Indian ritual to this hour, and the surviving traces in European folk custom have been noted in full by Mannhardt in his exhaustive work on Wald- und Feldkultur. Its existence in classic times is well known, and it is certainly one of the living folk customs for which a well-attested chain of descent can be cited. Professor von Schroeder remarks that the efficacy of the rite appears to be enhanced by the previous strict observance of the rule of chastity by the officiant. What, however, is of more immediate interest for our purpose is the fact that the Rishakringa story does in effect possess certain curious points of contact with the Grail tradition. Thus, the lonely upbringing of the youth in a forest, far from the haunts of men, has absolute his absolute ignorance of the existence of human beings other than his parent and himself present a close parallel to the account of Perceval's youth and woodland life as related in the Grail romances. In Gerbert's continuation, we are told that the marriage of the hero is an indispensable condition of achieving the quest, a detail which must have been taken over from an earlier version, as Gerbert proceeds to stultify himself by describing the solemnities of the marriage and the ceremonial blessing of the nuptial couch, after which hero and heroine simultaneously agree to live a life of strict chastity and are rewarded by the promise that the swan knight shall be their descendant. A tissue of contradictions which can only be explained by the maladroit blending of two versions, one of which knew the hero as wedded, the other as celibate. There can be no doubt that the original Perceval story included the marriage of the hero. There's a third interpretation, actually, which I'll interject at this point. That the uniting of the prince and the princess is, in a way, we've discussed this before, is in a way which may be called immaculate conception. Immaculate conception. The circumstances under which Rishyakringa is lured from his hermitage are curiously paralleled by the account found in the Quest and Manessier of Perceval's temptation by a fiend in the form of a fair maiden who comes to him by water in a vessel hung with black silk and with great riches on board. In pointing out these parallels, I wish to make my position perfectly clear. I do not claim that either in the Rigveda or in any other early Aryan literary monument we can hope to discover the direct sources of the Grail legend. But what I would urge upon scholars is the fact that in adopting the hypothesis of the nature cult as a possible origin and examining the history of these cults, their evolution and their variant forms, we do in effect find at every period and stage of development undoubted points of contact, which, though taken separately, might be regarded as accidental, in their ensemble can hardly be thus considered. When every parallel to our Grail story is found within the circle of a well-defined and carefully studied sequence of belief and practice, when each and all form part of a well-recognized body of tradition, the descent of which has been abundantly demonstrated, then I submit such parallels stand on a sound basis, and it is not unreasonable to conclude that the body of tradition containing them belongs to the same family and is to be interpreted on the same principles as the closely analogous rites and ceremonies. I suspend the notice and discussion of other poems contained in von Schroeder's collection till we have reached a later stage of the tradition. Mystery of Agni, page 112. This obscure hymn may be an indirect description of an oral contest about Agni. The poet or poets tantalize us with oblique references to a secret revealed by Agni and revealing Agni. This secret is alluded to with expressions such as the gift, the inner meaning, this thought so high and deep, the vision that illuminates, this speech of mine. The opponents of the poet appear in various pejorative forms. Those who break the commandments, those without order or truth, those whose speech is empty and contrary, who follow a false path, etc. There is also an extended pun upon the word padam, which designates a footprint, a deep place, possibly hell. In verse 5, perhaps with a double meaning of this riddle, that is, this mysterious verse. The place of the sunbird, verse 8, the order, verse 9, and the cow, verse 10, and a path, verse 12, whose meanings are linked. To know the verse padam is to know how to follow the footprint, padam, along the path, padam, to the sacred place, padam, of the sunbirds, who is the symbol of the order and is in turn symbolized by the cow. It's just occurred to me as I was reading that in Genesis, the region of northwestern Mesopotamia that Isaac sends for the right sort of kinsfolk to marry his son, the right sort of kinswoman to marry his son, is named as Aram Padam. I wonder if that has any other association. Aram Padam. Because the people of that region were the Mitanni. It's interesting, Rose, isn't it? The actual contents of the secret concerns the identity of Agni with a bull, with the substance inside the leather skin of food, a metaphor for an udder or the clouds or the earth or the human stomach, the latter being the site, in later Hinduism, of the digestive fire of all men. With the calf of the dappled cow Prusni, the earth, or of the cows of dawn, and with the disk of the sun or the sunbird, the round face of the gods, Agni's parents are sky and earth, or the fire sticks. In the latter case, he hungers for the offering of butter as a calf hungers for milk, the precious substance in the udder of Prusni. As the sun, the calf of the dawn, Agni is followed by her. Thus the solar, sacrificial and bovine images intertwine. The gift that Agni gives the poet is the clarifying vision that sees that Agni is always present in all of these forms. To find the secret is to find the cows or their milk, or to find the hidden sun, to find Agni, the sacred fire. How shall we with one accord give homage to the benevolent Agni of all men? Great lights, by his great and full growth, he has propped up the sky as a buttress props up a rampart. Do not reproach the self-ruled gods who gave this gift to me, for I am a simple mortal, while he is the clever immortal, the insightful, most manly and impetuous Agni of all men. The strong bull with sharp horns and seed 1,000-fold has a mighty and double tone. As one reveals the hidden footprint of a cow, Agni has declared to me the inner meaning. Let the generous Agni, sharp-toothed with white-hot flame, devour those who break the dear, firm commandments of Varuna and the watchful Mitra. Willful as women without brothers, wicked as wives who deceive their husbands, those who are evil without order or truth have engendered this deep place. O Agni, who makes things clear, who am I, that upon me, when I have broken no commandments, you have boldly placed like a heavy burden this thought so high and deep, this fresh question with 7 meanings for the offering? Let our vision that clarifies through sacrificial power reach him who is the same everywhere. The precious substance of the dappled cow is in the leather skin of food, and the disk of the sun has mounted to the head of the earth cow. What of this speech of mine should I proclaim? They murmur about the secret hidden in the depths. When they have opened the mystery of the cows of dawn, like a door upon a flood, he, Agni, protects the beloved head of the earth cow, the place of the bird. This is that great face of the great gods that the cow of dawn followed as it went in front. I find it shining in the place of the order, moving swiftly, swiftly. As he blazed beside his parents with open mouth, he thought of the precious hidden substance of the dappled cow. In the farthest place of the mother, facing the cow, the tongue of the bull, of the flame, stretches forth. When questioned, I speak reverently of the order, if I may, trusting in you who know all creatures. You rule over all this, over all the riches of heaven and all the riches of earth. What is ours of this? What riches? What treasure? Tell us, for you understand, you who know all creatures. Hidden is the furthest end of our road, where we have gone as those who fail follow a false path. What are the limits? What are the rules? What is the goal? We wish to go there as racehorses speed towards the victory prize. When will the dawns, goddesses and wives of immortality, spread over us their light with the colour of the sun? Those whose speech is empty and contrary, insipid and petty, who leave one unsatisfied, what can they say here, Agni? Unarmed, let them fall defeated. The face of the bull, of this deity kindled for beauty, shone forth in the house. Clothed in white, beautiful in form and rich in gifts. He glowed like a home full of riches. Let us note this, friends. Agni is the child of the union of heaven and earth. Also, Agni created the sun. You will remember from previous discussions that there is an ancient teaching that there are 3 levels of the sun. There is the visible physical disk. Beyond that, there is the intelligence of the sun, the mind of the sun, and beyond that, there is the primal spirit of the sun, body, mind, and spirit, setting the pattern for the further manifestation of the solar system, itself in tune with, part of a cosmic order, which is a cosmic being. How shall we, that is the initiates, with one accord, that is harmonious unison, give homage to the benevolent Agni of all men, Agni, we've seen, is Atma Brahman. Atma Brahman may be expressed, plus organism may be expressed as Purush, the cosmic organism, the archetypal cosmic organism. How shall we, the initiates, with one accord, that is harmonious union, give homage, that is Surya Namaskars, salutations to the light? How shall we give homage? Great light, by his great and full growth, he has propped up the sky as a buttress props a rampart. Surya Namaskars. Do not reproach, that is judge wrongly, the self-ruled God. The self-ruled God being Agni, who is one wholly free, and yet, paradox, because he is part of the whole, is himself ruled by Atma Brahman. The self-ruled God who gave this gift of the spirit, enlightenment, moksha, by which the intelligence of the initiate and the corporeal form of the initiate become suffused with the light of truth and become, in effect, the Holy Grail, who gave this gift of the Spirit to me, the Sadhak, the one who follows the Dharma, the one who is on the quest. For I am a simple mortal. To be a simple mortal, that is, a simple, receptive, aspiring ego, is a precondition for enlightenment. I am a simple mortal, while he, Agni, is clever, sagacious, wise, all-seeing, immortal. He is the deathless light, the most insightful, that is, the all-knowing, the most manly. This is his yang affirmational form, his hero form, the form of Rama, the form of Apollo, the form of the bridegroom. Behold, the bridegroom cometh. And impetuous, cannot be predicted, powerful and unpredictable. Agni of all men, that is the light and the Lord of all, as such the Logos, as such the Christos. The strong bull. Here again we have an echo of the most manly, heroic Agni. It's very interesting, this preoccupation with the bull and the cow symbolism. In many cultures, the strong bull, that is the most manly Agni of all men, with sharp horns and seed 1,000-fold. Sharp horns and seed 1,000-fold. The sharp horns are in the organism of Agni, which is symbolized. The solar, symbols of the solar and the lunar power. His seed 1,000-fold is the earth power of Agni. The sharp horns are the symbols of the solar and lunar power. And his seed 1,000-fold is the seed of Agni within the earth, which is the earth power. So Agni is described in his state of heavenly and earthly potency. The strong bull with sharp horns and seed 1,000-fold has a mighty and double tone, as one reveals the hidden footprint of a cow. Agni has declared to me the inner meaning Agni has a mighty and double tone. This mighty and double tone is another expression of heaven and earth united in Agni as a bull. And here it is speaking of the mantra as a mighty and double tone as one which is mantra reveals the hidden footprints of a cow. The cow being, in this context, the expression of the Earth Mother. Agni, as mantra, has delivered to me, that is revealed, awakened the buddhi, has delivered to me on the conscious level the inner meaning of the mantra, which is the inner meaning of the word of truth, the inner meaning of the creative word, the Om, the Logos. The hidden footprints of the Earth Mother indicates the path to be trod for the true realization of one's relationship with the earth, with the sun, with the cosmos. Agni has revealed this. Let the generous Agni, sharp-toothed with white-hot flame, devour those who break the dear firm commandments of Varuna and the watchful Mitra. Let the generous, that is, one with abundance, power, vision, the generous Agni, sharp-toothed with white-hot flame, and here the image, the symbolism, would be that of the rays of truth from the head of the sun god. Think of the symbol of Mithras, think of the symbol of Helios, the rays of truth from the head, from the aureole. Let the generous Agni, sharp-toothed with white-hot flame, the rays of truth, devour those who break the commandments. The commandments of Varuna and the watchful Mitra. The sharp-toothed white-hot flame, the rays of truth, and the devouring of those who break the commandments. Fire as a destroyer of error. is an image that often occurs. Shiva as fire, Shiva, the destroyer of darkness, Shiva manifesting as Narasimha, the divine lion. The commandments of Varuna, the moon, and a watchful Mitra, the sun. Contracts were honoured by swearing by Mitra and Varuna. It's interesting to note that the entire king list of the Hittite Empire was a succession of kings with Vedic names. The Hittite Empire of Asia Minor. In the 15th century BC, there was war between the Mitanni Empire of northwestern Mesopotamia and the Hittite Empire of Asia Minor. And when they signed an armistice, they did so calling upon Mitra and Varuna to bear witness that the agreement would hold firm. They swore by the Vedic gods, Mitra and Varuna. Willful as women without brothers, wicked as wives who deceive their husbands, those who are evil, without order or truth, have engendered this deep place. It is presumably thought that the presence of brothers has a restraining effect on wayward ladies. Those who are evil without order or truth. Without order means without morality. Without truth means without wisdom. The placing of this verse should be noted. Verse 4 deals with the existence of the commandments. Verse 5 gives particular stress to the importance of purity, morality and wisdom in the quest that is undertaken. Otherwise, there is an abyss of darkness. O Agni, who makes things clear. Who am I, that upon me, when I have broken no commandments, you have boldly placed like a heavy burden this thought so high and deep, this fresh question with 7 meanings for the offering? That verse 6 is crucial. Crucial. And before the crucial question, in verse 6, there is the affirmation of the commandments. In verse 4, and the danger of the maladjusted female principle. We're talking about a Vedic fire altar, a ceremony, an initiation process taking place around a Vedic fire altar. There's a picture here of a Vedic fire altar up in the mountains, always high, and if you just pass it round, let our vision that clarifies through sacrificial power reach him who is the same everywhere. The precious substance of the dappled cow is in the leather skin of food, and the disk of the sun has mounted to the head of the earth cow. Let our vision, that is our insight, that clarifies, intensifies, through the sacrificial power, the Shakti, reach him, Agni, who is the same, the pervading spirit, everywhere, omnipresent. The precious substance, the nutriment of the earth, the milk of the earth energy, to which the initiate is benignly attuned and which manifests to the children of the earth both as physical sustenance and as inspiration. The precious substance of the dappled cow, the Earth Mother, is in the leather skin of food, that is, the physical body. And the disk of the sun, who is the illuminator, has mounted, that is, has ascended through the chakras, from the Bindu, the seed at the Muladhara, to the crown of life at the Sahasrara, has mounted to the head of the earth cow. Agni, who created the sun, is present within the earth in seed form, and that seed form of Agni, who is born of the waters, born of the body of the earth, born of the waters, that seed form is the germ in which subsists all the power of evolution. It is the germ of Agni within the earth that enlivens the earth, creates within the earth the impulse to become more, to know more, to return to the source. And that impulse within the earth is a vibration shared by every living creature and is particularly potent in humankind. The need to know more by becoming more, and becoming more by returning to the source, to the divine state of origin. And that is evolution. So the unity of the yang and yin, the interchangeability of the yang and yin, are inherent within the structure. Within the structure of the human being, of the earth, of the solar system, of the cosmos, there are the twin channels of power the Pingala and the Ida, the positive and the negative, the solar and the lunar. And evolution consists, in yoga and in other disciplines, evolution consists of drawing energy from the solar and lunar nadis, both within and without, and causing that prana, that Shakti, to focus upon the Sushumna, the central channel as yet underactivated. And when the prana is withdrawn or diminished within the Ida and Pingala and is centered upon the Sushumna, the energy active within the Sushumna draws up the earth force to ascend, to evolve, draws up the Kundalini. And the Kundalini is the enlivened earth energy that is made to arise because of the spark of Agni within the earth. The solar Nadi and the lunar Nadi are respectively, Agni is the solar, Soma is the lunar. Here we have the interaction of the solar and the lunar principles. Agni is the descending flame that causes the earth energies to rise, serpentinata, uncoiling. As they do so, transmuting from female into male. Soma is the lunar principle, the wisdom principle, that gives organic form, objective organic form, to the evolving organism within which and upon which Agni acts. What is meant by the sacrifice? As within, so without. As above, so below. The ritual is a sort of a dance, a process of gesture, mudra, gesture, physical movement, vocal expression, mantra, by which the cognizing mind realizes the profundity of that which it cognizes, that which it has manifested, and endows the physical fact with the inner power of the wisdom insight. Are you with me? The intelligence of the mind which perceives, when linked with the performance of the outer act, which is an expression of the inner movement, an expression of the inner state. By so doing, endows the outer states, the outer movement, with Shakti, if you like, a form of divine incarnation. When inner and outer are rightly attuned, the spirit incarnates into the action. The performance of the outer action has its justification in two ways: in enabling the conscious mind to identify the inner movement through the objective symbol and enabling the spirit within to manifest, to animate the physical act that is being performed. Divine incarnation. Are you with me?
Could you say again?
No, no questions. So, what is the sacrifice? The sacrifice is the objectification of the fact of the interaction of Agni and Soma, whereby a physical body is surrendered to the flames, the purifying fire of the Spirit, which transforms the body into vapor, brings about the release of the spirit and the elevation of the consciousness through being consumed within the purifying fire. That is what the sacrifice expresses. An outer act expressing an inner movement by which the fire of spirit suffuses the corporeal state and transforms the psychophysical nature. What of this speech of mine should I proclaim? They murmur about the secret hidden in the depths. When they have opened the mystery of the cows of dawn, like a door upon a flood, he protects the beloved head of the earth cow, the place of the bird. What of this speech of mine, this revealed knowledge, should I proclaim? They, the rishis, murmur about the secret of Agni. From seed into sun, hidden in the depths of the earth, the Muladhara. When they, by initiation, have opened the mystery of the cows of dawn, that is, the devas of inspiration, like a door upon a flood, like a door upon a flood. Knock, and it shall be opened. He, Agni, protects the beloved head, which is the seat of ego, suffused with illumination, protects the beloved head of the earth cow, which is the resting place of the bird of heavenly grace, the dove, or of the eagle, the logos. Here we have an image, an Aryan image, which is expressed in greater detail in ancient Egyptian tradition. Osiris and Isis. The story of Osiris and Isis represents the first detailed teaching concerning resurrection. Osiris and Isis were king and queen, husband and wife, also brother and sister. They were like Agni. They were the children of heaven and earth, the children of the uniting of heaven and earth. After the murder of Osiris, Isis, who represented the Earth Mother, ascended into heaven. And in Egyptian mythology, for reasons best known to themselves, Isis and her successor, named Hathor, were symbolized as cows, the great benign sustaining mother cow, with the sun disk between the horns. Consider this in verse 7. The disk of the sun, the illuminator, evolving from the seed of Agni at the Muladhara, gradually arising as the light within, up the Sushumna, reaches the crown of the head, at which point the Earth Mother is transposed into the Queen of Heaven. The earth cow becomes the cow of heaven. The earliest representation of the Virgin Mary, and the Christ child was in fact Egyptian. Thank you. Showing the child Horus, who is destined to overcome the powers of darkness. The child Horus on the lap of the mother Isis. Agni protects the beloved head, the seat of ego, suffused with illumination of the earth cow. Which is the resting place of the bird. Now here we're drawing together threads through a tradition spreading through the Aryan teachings across the world. Where's Hathor? Who's got Hathor? Fantastic what they did with bulls and cows in this early period. I've seen that. Fantastic. Fantastic. We need to ask ourselves, though not tonight, why Moses was so uptight about bulls. Not tonight. Hathor, where the sun has ascended to the Sahasrara. And this very early figurine which shows the Cretan goddess, hands upraised, with dove on head. Now there are a number of illustrations. Sometimes it shows a single dove, sometimes a twin pair of doves on the head. So the dove descending from heaven to illuminate the aspirant. A form of initiation is a symbol that existed long before the New Testament was written, and has much to do with John's identification of Jesus as, "Behold the bridegroom." This is that great face of the great gods that the cow of dawn followed as it went in front. I found it shining in the place of the order, moving swiftly, swiftly. When I read that first, I thought it was a piece of Irish. This is that great face of the great gods that the cow of dawn followed as it went in front. Like when Spike Milligan says the last time he went to Ireland, he knew he was in Ireland, he went to a hotel, and the porter picked up his bags and said, "Follow me, sir, I'm right behind you." I personally interpret that as meaning that the corporeal body of the cow of the dawn inevitably follows its own face as it proceeds. This Hathor is that great face of the great gods that the cow of the dawn followed as it went in front. The body follows the face. I found it, that is the sun, shining in the place of order, moving swiftly. Now we come to another tradition, another Vedic tradition. In one of the Tantric teachings, Tripura Sundari is described as the Queen of Hara. One of the names of Shiva is Hara. And the Queen of Hara is the power, the Shakti of Shiva. From the body of Tripura Sundari flows the splendor of the rising sun. Heaven and earth are immersed in the luster of thy body. This is another expression of the cow of the dawn, with the sun between her horns. I found it, the sun, shining in the place of order. The place of order is the Sushumna. The sun is between the horns. The sun is between the solar and lunar nadis. The ascendant sun. There's one version of Buddhism, a tantric version, which describes the middle way of Buddhism as being the indrawing of energy from the Pingala and the Ida into the Sushumna, and the awakening and enlivening of the Sushumna as the spark of Agni, which culminates as the inner sun, expresses itself as the uncoiling earth forces, manifesting as the source of light. And the middle way of Buddhism, in this view, is the awakening of the Kundalini in the Sushumna. The place of order is the right balance of the solar and lunar energies. Cosmos means order, as distinct from chaos, which is disorder, dis-ease. The place of order is the right relationship, results from the right relationship of body, mind, spirit, of solar and lunar principles, and the realization of the middle way. Not all to the right, not all to the left, but the right fusion of the solar and lunar energies results in something much greater than the sum of each. The sum of the right union of solar and lunar energies is much greater than the totality of the parts. As he blazed beside his parents with his open mouth, he thought of the precious hidden substance of the dappled cow. In the farthest place of the mother, facing the cow, the tongue of the bull of the flame stretches forth. As he, that is Agni, blazed beside his parents, heaven and earth, in one version, the father of Agni is Brahma. Interesting, Brahma is the lunar principle. We can call, if we wish, the earth principle Aditi. As he, Agni, blazed beside his parents, with his open mouth, eager for sacrifice, he thought of the precious hidden substance, that is the seed of Agni, of the dappled cow. That is the mother of life, Aditi, Mary. The precious hidden substance, the seed of Agni, of the mother of life, in the furthest place, that is the womb of the earth, in the furthest place of the mother. Facing the cow of the dawn, new life. The tongue of the bull, Agni is the bull. The tongue of the bull is the emanation of Agni. The tongue of the bull of the flame of divine life stretches forth. The extending tongue of the bull may be seen in two ways. Agni as logos, as creative word, as mantra. Agni as lingam, the tongue of the bull, which stretches forth to the furthest place of the mother, the womb of the earth. When questioned, I speak reverently of the order, if I may, trusting in you who know all creatures. You rule over all this, over all the riches in heaven and all the riches on earth. When questioned, the quest is a series of questions. The realization of the answer may well demand action. Difficult, dangerous action. But the motive force is the question. The quest is the question. The question is the quest. When questioned, the initiate must reveal right understanding in response to ritual questions. I speak reverently of the order that is cosmos. Trusting in you, Agni, who know, in the profoundest sense, all creatures, since they develop from the seed of the Agni within. You rule over all the inspirational riches in heaven and all the abundance of the earth. Agni is the flame of life, the spirit of the Purush, as such, is king of the initiates. King of the cosmos. What is ours of this? What riches, what treasure? Tell us, for you understand, you who know all creatures. Hidden is the furthest end of our road, where we have gone as those who fail follow a false path. What is this? What treasure? Hidden is the end of our road, as with those who follow a false path, an illusory Dharma, which must therefore fail. What is ours of this? What is the treasure? Hidden is the end of our road. We are as much uncomprehending as are those who follow an illusory Dharma and therefore destined to fail. What are the limits? What are the rules? What is the goal? We wish to go there as racehorses speed towards the victory prize. When will the dawns, goddesses and wives of immortality, spread over us their light with the colour of the sun? What are the limits of understanding? What are the rules, yamas and niyamas, the basic morality? What is the goal? When will the dawns, that is the devas of wisdom, the goddesses and wives of immortality, spread over us their sun-coloured light? Wisdom, Sophia, is female. I take this verse to be part of the question process put to the initiate. Those whose speech is empty and contrary, insipid and petty, who leave one unsatisfied, what can they say here, Agni? Unarmed, let them fall defeated. Those whose speech is insipid fall defeated, unworthy of initiation. The face of the bull of this deity, kindled for beauty, shone forth in the house, clothed in white, beautiful in form and rich in gifts. He glowed like a home full of riches. The face of the bull, that is Agni, shone forth Voila. The bull, as we've seen before, expresses both Agni and Soma. He glows like a home, full of riches. A home, a house, a mansion, a temple is the psychophysical structure of the spiritually fulfilled human being. Full of riches, spiritual treasure. Let's note this. Verse 3 expresses Agni as the revealer of truth. Verse 4 expresses Agni as the upholder of the law, the precondition to the revelation of truth. Verse 5 warns about the maladjusted female principle. Verse 6 expresses how the maladjusted female principle is healed by the initiate. Verse 7 gives expression to the true female principle in right relationship to Agni. The bridegroom, Agni. In verse 8, through the translation of the Earth Mother to the Queen of Heaven, the sun which has evolved, the inner sun which has evolved from the spark of Agni, ascends between the solar and lunar nadis of Isis, Hathor, Mary, etc. And the bird descends. The sun ascends and the bird of inspiration descends. Verse 10 is again an expression. Of the true adjustment of the female principle to Agni, as is verse 13. We must now come back to verse 6. I'm sorry there's so much in one evening, friends, but I don't think we can break it up. O Agni, who makes things clear, who am I, that upon me, when I have broken no commandments, you have boldly placed like a heavy burden this thought so high and deep, this fresh question with 7 meanings for the offering. The quest of the Holy Grail is the question. The question is the quest of the Holy Grail. I think we should refer back briefly to page 67, which bothered one or two of us. Verses 7 and 8. And 9. Verses 7, 8 and 9. Keep the horses happy and you will win the stake. Make your chariot into the vehicle of good fortune. Drink at the fountain that has soma vats for buckets, a pressing stone for its wheel, a consecrated goblet for its casing. This is the fountain where true men drink. Make an enclosure, for this is the drink for men. Stitch the breastplates thick and broad. Make iron forts that cannot be breached. Make your goblet strong so that nothing will flow out. I turn toward our cause. Hear your sacrificial attention, gods, your divine thought that is disposed towards sacrifice and worthy of sacrifice. Let the great cow give us milk in thousands of streams of milk, as if she were walking in a meadow. Drink at the fountain that has soma vats for buckets, a consecrated goblet for its casing. This is the fountain where true men drink. I will give you living water. Make your goblet strong so that nothing will flow out. We've already interpreted that passage. I don't propose to do it again. Briefly, the consecrated goblet, is the development from the chariot. Make your chariots the psychophysical structure. Make your chariot into the vehicle of good fortune. Drink at the fountain that has soma vats for buckets. Soma vats, the chakras. A pressing stone for its wheel. A consecrated goblet for its casing. This is the fountain where men drink. The chariot is transformed into the Holy Grail. From which the initiate finds release from containment the containment of the limitations of the conscious mind. And it's all brought about by the thirsting for knowledge that manifests as the asking of the right question in the right way at the right time, at the right conjunction of energies. The fundamental question, verse 6, the fundamental question is, who am I? Who am I? The primary question of yoga. The knowledge of which is gnosis. The answer is, I am the initiate. The consecrated goblet. The sacred cup. The Holy Grail that dispenses Agni Soma, the fiery water. The living water. The heavy burden of this fresh question with 7 meanings. It is a heavy burden because it carries with it the responsibility for right relationship, right communication, right balance of energies with the earth, with the cosmos, and responsibility for interaction with, creative interaction with one's fellow human beings. The heavy burden of this fresh question with 7 meanings. The question is usually expressed as, whom does the Grail serve? I'm slightly adjusting that. Who is served by the Grail? Who is served by the Grail? A saying of Jesus. He is greatest among you, who shall become the servant of all. definitely two levels of meaning there at least. He is greatest among you who is the humblest, sees himself not as the leader but the servant. There's a deeper meaning. The servant of all. In the Vedic language, Om means all. To be the servant of all is the servant of Om, the servant of the Logos. The servant of all means the servant of all levels, because the initiate is every level. The right balance, body, mind, spirit, solar and lunar principles, the middle way, the initiate is every level. The initiate is the grail, the psychophysical organism of the true man. The true man, the swan knight in the grail symbolism. The swan knight is the highest expression, the one who becomes the divine teacher. The knight is not a monk, he is active on every level. So, he is greatest among you who shall become the servant of every level. The servant of Muladhara, the earth, which holds the seed of Agni. The servant of Svadhisthana, water, which is the womb of the earth, which gives birth to Agni. The servant of Manipura, fire, which is the power of Agni, physically manifest. The servant of Anahata, air, which is the breath. The Atman means breath of organic life. The servant of Vishuddha, that is ether, that is prana, that is the source of the creative word, the Om, the Logos, the servant of Om, the servant of all. The servant of Agnya, which is Buddhi, wisdom. The servant of Sahasrara, which is the crown of life, knowing which we come to the inheritance of the kingdom. So the Dharma of the true knight in this tradition is a mystery. The true knight is the man of action par excellence, not a monk. He is the bridegroom. Behold, the bridegroom cometh. In the Arthurian tradition, there is the story of the sick king whose land is waste, and the fruitfulness of the land will not be restored until the coming of the initiates, The king is sick because the right questions, invocations, have not been expressed at every level. He is maladjusted at the earth level, centres 1, 2 and 3. And in consequence, the land, which is himself, and the land over which he rules, is in dis-ease. The king is healed by a healing initiation. Healing, true healing, is always in some degree initiatory. To be healed is to be made whole. The king is healed by a healing initiation that harmoniously integrates the chakras. The king is then in cosmos. Harmony, order. Plato said, the world will only be saved when the kings become philosophers or the philosophers become kings. By a philosopher he meant a true Jnani, one with gnosis. No time for tea, Pete. We'll have to skip it tonight, friends. You got the answer to the Holy Grail and the link of yoga and the Holy Grail. And all on the ILEA.